So we're in the Blue Ridge Mountains in central Virginia, kind of right in between Charlottesville, Lexington, and Stanton. I co-own Little Hack Creek Farm with my husband, Ben. It's a combined ecological vegetable farm and wood-fired bakery, and we bake primarily sourdough breads and croissant for farmers market. For me, what is interesting about being a baker is transforming grain into something edible. We can't just take a handful and shove it in our mouth and eat it. And yet grain is a really important staple food. And if you look at the global diversity of grain products, you can see the evidence of both the cultural significance and the ingenuity behind the grain processors that produce those products. And that ingenuity sprang from, I think, a history in the profession of just using what is there. And so I feel it's my job as a baker to do that here in the Mid-Atlantic, to use what is grown around me in the soils that are here and transform that into something that is delicious and sustaining for my customers. As a baker, I try to use my buying power as wisely as I can. I try to spread it around to everyone who is trying to get into the grain business. Every harvest season, I try to buy a little bit from every producer and then figure out how to bring the most potential out of the product that they have to offer that year. And every year it's different. And I feel really lucky to be just 10 miles down the road from Woodson's Mill, which is the last operational water-powered mill in Virginia. Currently undergoing a revival with Charlie Wade at the helm as Deep Roots Milling. I'm so excited to see what they are accomplishing there. I love that they work with Daniel Austin, who is a really important no-till farmer. He's a leader in conservation, soil management. I'm so excited and privileged to use his grain. We've been conditioned by industrial agriculture to expect uniformity and consistency in our grain products. But I think that is so uninteresting. It's not that easy to take whatever grain is around and transform it into something that is, delicious. I think that scares a lot of bakers off, but I like to turn that around and say, why wouldn't you as a baker want to deepen your craft so that you can recognize the potential in any grain and any flour that you're presented with? Not every flour is going to be good for every product, but don't you want to be able to identify the product that is good for that particular flour and bring out the most of it? For me, that's what's exciting about being a baker with local grain. And I really try to encourage my customers to celebrate the variability that comes out of my bakery and the processes that go into it, starting with the farmer producing grain in the soil. Bakers and all grain processors really should care about soil health for two reasons. One, healthier soils produce better grain. If farmers are taking care of soils, it'll have stronger protein, it'll have better starches, it'll have better flavor, fewer problems. If you have healthy soils, you'll have higher nutritional value, which is better for consumers and better for the end product. The other reason is, as purchasers of grain, and grain crops are one of our largest crops, staple foods, as purchasers and consumers of grain, it is our responsibility to make sure that that grain is grown well in a way that sustains the soil for generations beyond us. It's really important for consumers to recognize the direct link between my bakery, between Charlie's Mill at Woodson's Mill, and all the way back to Daniel Austin and his no-till practices on his farm. I think I'm really influenced by direct connections. I love selling at farmers market because as a producer, I have a direct connection to the person who's going to be eating my food. I love baking with fire, heating with fire, because there's a direct connection to the heat from the sun through the tree into my oven. I love working with local grain because there's a direct connection to the hands that grew that grain and the soil that produced it all the way to the bread.